Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. Last week we started the 16th chapter, and we did up to verse 5. Let me share my screen. Just yes, so we started with the 16th chapter, and which is primarily going to talk about divine and demoniac. Most of the chapter is about demoniac. Only the first 3 verses are about divine. The rest is about demoniac people. And then we also discussed how does the Jnana section progress. 13th chapter is the seed, where Krishna in the 22nd verse, he talks about bhumte, the enjoying tendency. 14th was watering the seed. What is watering the seed? Guna prakriti sambhava. It's been possible because of the guna. And then the 15th, we get the tree. It's an inverted tree, urdhva moolam. Then in the 16th chapter comes the extremes of the tree, Daivi Asura. And then in the 17th chapter, when we come to, we'll be talking about more about the moderate people, somewhere in between, that they still have some Shraddha. They don't do it according to the Shastras, but they still have some Shraddha. What about that? That was the progression that we have been seeing, and continue the next chapter. We talked about the 26 qualities of the divine. And Prabhupada, in his purport, says that some qualities are relevant for one ashram or varna. But at the end, as we read in the purport, Prabhupada says that everybody should practice them. It doesn't mean that if, for example, simplicity is for Brahmins, so I don't be simple. Or we should not have tejas. We should not have strength. And so it's for all of them, but some to live any of the varnas and ashrams to the highest possible, it's good to have some of these qualities. Prabhupada was highlighting it from that perspective. Okay, and then in the 4th verse, we talked about the six qualities that demons have, demoniac people have. Dambho, Dharpo, Abhimanascha, Krodha, Paurusham, Ajnanam cha Abhijatasya, Partha, Sampadam, Asuri. So we talked about pride, arrogance, and both of these verses, the 3rd verse, and which talks about 1 to 3, talked about divine. So in the end of that section of divine qualities, Krishna uses the word Abhijatasya, and so he uses the word for demoniac also. Prabhupada gives us the meaning that these qualities are taken on from the beginning of their bodies. So we talked of 3 ways, right? There is nature, there is nurture, and there is culture. So by nature, I can have demoniac qualities, but I always have that freedom of how my environment shapes me. So those qualities are still variable. It's not that if I'm born of a demoniac qualities, I need to live those demoniac qualities, or I have to be demoniac. It's unnecessary. So that's something important for us to understand. Okay, so now the remaining of the chapter, I just created a snapshot here. Going all the way from 6. So we have done up to 6.5 in the last class. So we go all the way now, 16.7, all the way up to 20. You'll see there are different attributes of demoniac beings. There is what does their nature say? What is their philosophy? How do they engage with this world? What is their mentality? What results do they get? And how do they preach? So those kind of things. Yes, Shalini.
Prabhuji, I know you would have covered in the last session, but would you elaborate on this nature, nurture, and culture, especially?
So, as I mentioned, right, nature. So, nature is something that you're born with, right? Just
Mm.
look at it that perspective. And so, like, I'm born an Indian, right? So, it's an. So, I have these Indian. Some qualities are coming from me by my birth of being born in a country, right? Um, so, we carry impressions from previous lives, no doubt about that. But then the nurture and culture, they are determined by our willpower, determination, and activities in this life that can alter the nature also. So that's the way to understand that. So when I say nature, so once again, so that's something I'm born with, and nurture is something that uh, parent upbringing. So nurture, you can say parent upbringing. So even though I might be born demoniac, but let's say by Krishna's mercy, I'm born in a pious family. By the influence of my parents, there might be some things that I might pick up that are divine in nature, even though by birth I was demoniac. And then culture means larger association in which we live. So that can also define our lifestyles or my nature, right? As they say, right, that if you tell me your five closest friends, I can tell you your nature. So we get influenced by the people who are around us. So that's nature, but what we are born with, nurture, parent upbringing, culture, our association beyond my immediate family. Those are the three things.
Yes, Prabhu, got it. Thank you so much.
You are. Yeah. So and the Bhagavad Gita, I think we talked about that also in the class. That Bhagavad Gita is not a book about commandments. It's a book about choices. It gives us a very user-friendly spirituality. It doesn't say one or zero. Right? There are many religions in the society. They say either my way or the highway. You know, it doesn't. There's no in between. But then Bhagavad Gita doesn't offer that philosophy. There's a freedom of choice given to us. You know, Krishna, doesn't want us to leave. He says, "Hey, try this. If you can't do this, do that. I understand you're born in a with a demoniac mentality, but still try to change yourself. I've given you some amount of free will. Use that." So he's trying to keep us within that, within his umbrella, some way or the other. So that's the beauty of Bhagavad Gita. And I'm not sure if I brought this up, but then the only difference between demons and demigods, and this question comes, I think I talked about it. The seventh chapter, the seventh canto, Parishit Maharaj asked this question to Sukadeva Goswami that how can Krishna or Bhagavan be biased, right? So then Sukadeva Goswami explains to him that it's out of choice that the divine people, they are attracted to Krishna. And when they come to Krishna and asking for help, Krishna is obliged to help them. But demons don't come. Demons don't come to him. So uh, so the demons are the ones who don't take Krishna's help, or who think I can do it all by myself. So it's not as if they have some sort of horns or fangs or anything. Um, but there's just a difference in our mindset. That's all. That's the difference between demons and divine. Okay, so this section, I'll go through this whole section, but I just wanted to give you the snapshot. So the rest of the chapter is all about demoniac people, and we'll go through all these attributes of them. Let me jump on to the chapter. We did up to verse 5. In verse 5, where we ended was when Arjun heard of those qualities between divine and demoniac people. Obviously, a question comes, hey, where do I stand? You're asking me to kill my own family men. So probably I'm in a demoniac nature. So Krishna just clarifies to him, don't worry, you were born with divine qualities. Right? So he's encouraging Arjuna. Then we come to now Krishna. What Krishna is going to tell us is that this is more like giving us information of what's about to come. That there are two kinds of created being. One is called the divine and the other demoniac. I've already explained to you at length the divine. Now hear from me about the demoniac. So now Krishna is saying that I've already talked about the divine. Okay. So when Krishna says that, what he means is that in many of the earlier chapters, he has talked about divine. For example, in the second chapter, towards the end of the chapter, we read about Sthita Pragya. In the fourth chapter, there was a mention of King Janaka. And he talked about Nishkam Karma Yogi. And then in the 10th chapter, he has described godly qualities, which come from Krishna. In the 12th chapter, towards the end, he describes the qualities of divine people, godly people. So he's talked so that's what Krishna means when he says, I've talked in Vistara Prokta, he's saying Vistara Prokta. So that's what Krishna means when he says that I've talked in Vistar about the divine nature. So Krishna is not going to reiterate that. He's just going to start talking about the demoniac people. And so in the next verse, Krishna will now start here. Let's look at this. Yes. The only difference is that one class obeys the Vedic injunction, and the other does not. So that's the only difference between demons and demigods. And we'll see elaborately when the whole section when we go through. It's all about me and mine, and this is the way I do it. I born free kind of an attitude people have. So the only difference is that the demigods they obey the Vedic injunctions or the injunctions of Krishna, as all the Vedas are coming from Krishna, and then others do not. So we're starting with the seventh now verse, and the seventh verse is talking about the demoniac nature. This is going to elaborate the nature of the demoniac people. So what is their nature? Those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them. So they don't know what is to be done, what is not to be done. Right? Demons, even though they're elevated in knowledge, if you read the seventh canto, when Hiranyaksh dies, Hiranyakashipu gives an elaborate monologue about the philosophy, that this body is perishable, why are you worrying about this, you're a soul. He talks at length about it. So they have good knowledge, they have knowledge, but they don't use it for Krishna's service. They are called demons because of that reason. Their behavior is not guided by the scriptures. Even though they know it, but they don't use it to guide themselves. They don't act properly. Yeah. So yes. So and as I was saying, demons don't have any horns or fangs. They are like Mahabharat. Duryodhan, that he had asura mentality. So this is that they do not know what is to be done, what is not to be done. They are not clean. They're not clean. Cleanliness is very important for our bhakti practices. We represent whenever we go out, especially in a Vaishnava environment, like coming to a temple or going to some home program. We are representing Srila Prabhupada and we are representing our spiritual master. There are so many people who have joined our movement just by seeing our cleanliness. And so many have left the movement by seeing our sloppiness. You can look at all the Maharajs. They are very nicely dressed. Always, clean shaven, they're properly shaved. They're very clean. They're very good. They look like, amazing, eternal, effulgent souls. They're never sloppily dressed. So it's a responsibility for us, for our bhakti practices also, and when we are representing ourselves in a Vaishnava environment. So yeah, so cleanliness, and no truth is found in them. So there's no truth in them. They're not conscious whether they're lying or not, whether they're speaking the truth or not. Yeah. So that's the nature of demons. And then Prabhupada says that you should be clean externally by brushing, shaving, changing clothes, and internally by chanting Hare Krishna. Okay. Then comes the eighth one. So the eighth one is their philosophy. What is their philosophy? This world is, and they say that this world is unreal, with no foundation, no God in control. They say it is produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. Okay. So yes. So now this is the philosophy of demoniac people. So previous verse talks about pravrittim cha nivrittim cha. They don't know what is right, what is not to be done. So this, and they say this world is unreal, right? That's what they're saying. Satyam apratishthante. And that is generally, if you'll notice, that is mostly quoted by Mayavadis, right? So apratishthante means it has no foundation. So some people will say this world is false. Uh, some will say this world is real, but there is no foundation. There is no supreme cause. Some say Jagatahu Ranishwaram, there is no God beyond this world. So this world is unreal. This world is foundationless. Right. So that's what the mentality. These are different godlessness ideas of being godless. Either they can say world is unreal, or the world is real but has no foundation. Okay, the world has a foundation, but there's no God in control. What is the foundation? Then it's lust. Right? Because generally, as Prabhupada he say in the purport, that where is he said? They conclude that as a child is simply the result of sexual intercourse between man and woman. This world is born without a soul. So that's an understanding they have. That hey, there's no foundation, there is no God. It's just a sexual intercourse that's happening, and that's how children are being born. Uh, so that's the idea. That's the philosophy. Kimanyat kama hetukam. Right? Uh, Sometimes in India, people blame the Britishers and the Muslims for creating a lot of atheism and confusions. But if you notice that even sometimes Sanskrit has also produced a large amount of atheists. There is Buddhism. Buddhisms are atheists. They don't believe in God. They just say after death, there is nothing. Nirvana is Shunya. That's why Prabhupada is called Shunya. He Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarima. Nirvishesha, like impersonalist, and Shunyavadi are the one Buddhists who have zero. There's nothing beyond this. Right? So even in India, there have a lot of been these atheistic philosophies that have been born. The philosophy of Charvaka Muni. Ritam Kritva, Ritam Pive, Yavan Jivet, Sukham Jivet. That till your time you live happily. Either you have to, beg, borrow, or steal, but you eat ghee. So a lot of that has come into within India also. So yeah, so there is a lot of atheism dressed up in the scientific clothes also. So lot of atheism around there. Even before, in the world in general, even before Newton proposed the law of gravity, right? They were, there was room for God, but when science started coming in and then saying, oh, there's a law of gravity, there is a law of this and that, people started thinking that everything can be explained by science. But what they don't understand is that science can only explain how. Science cannot explain why. So, but then science has also created a lot amount of atheists. So, and then Prabhupada says in the purport, that, yeah, although the demons say this life is a dream, they're very expert at enjoying this dream. So somebody can ask, right? Okay, this world is not real, but then why? It's an illusion. Why are you enjoying the illusion then? Right? But then they don't have an answer for that because they're under the control of lust. They're under the control of their senses. Right? So they want to enjoy it. They don't want any regulations in this world. So is this world a dream? It is a dream in the sense that it is temporary. Right? Matter is the energy of Krishna, and we cannot wish away the material nature. There is to be a process to be followed to get out of this material nature. So, like the dream is temporary, like any dream is temporary, so similarly, the world also should not be taken very seriously. Because even though it's there, but it's temporary. We don't worry about a dream. Similarly, this world also should not be worried about. Let's see what else is Prabhupada saying. Then we come to the ninth. So the ninth is about the attitude and the engagement of the demoniac people. Ninth and the 11, 12 verse is also about attitude and engagement. So what is the attitude and engagement of the demoniac? Following such conclusions, the demoniac who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. Right? When people start succumbing to atheism and immorality, the soul is lost. Right? So the word here is the word you used here is nashta, nashtatmano, nashtatmano. So nashtatmano, when you use that word in Sanskrit or Hindi, nashta means destroyed. But here Prabhupada is translating it as having lost. It's not destroyed, we just lose it. It's more lost. The soul's spiritual inclinations are killed when you don't follow that. In the Ishopanishad also, the third verse says that, right? That it's a killer of the soul. That the person who does not follow a spiritual lifestyle is a killer of a soul. Right? Those people have intelligence, but it is restricted to matter only. If we think this world is for enjoyment, we'll always be frustrated because unlimited desires cannot be satisfied. Right? So Krishna is saying, Shaya Jagato Ahita. And Prabhupada in the purport talks about weapons of mass destruction. Is it here? Yeah. Yes, Madhuri.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, the term like killer of the soul means like away from the self-realization, like, and like then how the souls will get opportunity again, right? Or
Your question is that if they kill that spiritual inclination, how do they get it back?
Yeah, and how they get chance for self-realization, like yeah, yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
So Krishna will talk about it towards the end. What happens to these demoniac people? They are pushed into lower species of life. And it's very much like a timeout. When you give a child a timeout, your goal is not to banish them in that timeout for eternity. Your goal is that when the child is in the timeout, he or she will learn their lesson and won't repeat that mistakes when they're given another chance. Right? So they suffer, but then the suffering should be a precursor for them for change in their life. But if they don't change, they keep living in those lower species of life. That's the way to understand.
Got you, Prabhuji. So like we see all like from this like I was listening I like from my Guru Maharaj's lecture that he was telling that scenes like no, Vaishnava aparad is more dangerous than scenes because
Mhm.
scenes we can do prayashchitta for to get like to nullify the scenes, but the Vaishnava aparad is like there is no scope for prayashchitta. So does the Vaishnava aparad comes to in this kind of in this like demoniac things like demoniac characteristics and the
Well, yeah.
devotee to the lower species.
So Vaishnava Aparad, it all boils down to the intention. Sachi Mata, so what had happened that Shachi Mata's elder son Vishwarup used to go and listen Advaita Acharya Prabhu, and when Vishwarup came to know that he was about to be married off, he said, "Oh, I'm taking sannyas." So Advaita Acharya's philosophy teachings led to uh, the sannyas of Vishwarup, the elder brother of Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu also used to go to Advaita Acharya's classes when he was young. He would go to Sachi Mata would send him to bring his elder brother back. So so he would bring him back. So Sachi Mata was really very angry with Advaita Acharya. Mahaprabhu, when he had when he was showing his nature, what is that? Sat Prakash. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a place where, in one section, where he's showing his real form and he was blessing everybody. Uh, at that time, he refuses to bless Mother Sachi, and everybody is amazed that she's the mother of God Himself, and how can God do that? So he says that you blasphemed Advaita Acharya, and I will forgive everything, but not a Vaishnava aparad. But then he also gives a solution for that. He says, Mahaprabhu says, you have to beg forgiveness to Advaita Acharya, and Advaita Acharya has to forgive you. Then it's okay. So to answer your question, Vaishnava aparad is we should not do it. It's a strict no for us. However, unknowingly or knowingly, if we do a Vaishnava aparad, the easiest way is to go and beg forgiveness from the person to whom we have done it. Then Krishna fixes it for us. Right? And the best, at least what I do it very commonly, unknowingly, I might be doing a lot of Vaishnava Aparad. The very good way is that, which I try to do, is every morning when you sit down to chant, when you say the mantra for Vaishnavas, right? Um, what's the mantra for Vaishnavas?
Like Panchakalpatarubhyascha, that one?
Yes.
Or,
So when you say Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namah, in your mind, think of all the people, all the devotees you interact with on a regular basis. Devotees at the temple, devotees in some small congregation you are a part of, devotees who are your mentors probably. So just when you are saying this mantra, think of all of them and pay your obeisances to all of them. Well, I'm not saying you to do it, you already might be doing it, but this is something I do, and it's been very helpful for me because we unknowingly or unknowingly do a lot of Vaishnava. So it's really very helpful to me that every morning before I sit down to chant, I say the mantra, and in my mind, I'm thinking of all the devotees whom I interact with or I have interacted in the past. I just try to bring their pictures in general in my mind. I think of my temple, I think of the devotees that I interact with, and so that helps a lot. That helps you focus in your chanting also, and that also helps you in reducing the Vaishnava Prad we are doing. But if you know that you have done a Vaishnava Prad towards somebody specifically, you should go and ask for forgiveness to that devotee. Then your Vaishnava Prad will be removed. But then Vaishnava Prad is not like, oh, it's permanent. It's not that way, to answer your question.
Gotcha. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Was there another hand raised? I thought there were two of them.
Prabhuji,
Okay.
it was me.
Yes.
Lost of soul, I was thinking basically the loss of consciousness in a person. Can be
Loss,
related
loss
conscious.
of consciousness.
Yes.
What were you relating that with?
Means when they say lost of soul, right? I was relating
Hmm.
with loss of consciousness in that person to understand what is correct and what is incorrect, what is right, what is wrong, what is bad, what is
Hmm.
good, what is
Okay.
sin. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. No, let me. So the meaning is that when they say killer of the soul is somebody whose spiritual inclination is dead. But let me show you what Prabhupada talks about. It's in the Upanishad, third verse, which I was referring to. Let me show you where Prabhupada talks about. He gives an exact meaning of the word. In that, the word used is Chatma Hanojana, but that's the same killer of the soul. Let me find that verse. It's Upanishad, verse number 3. Let me share this. So this is the verse. Asurya namate loka andhena tam savat tamste pratyabhi gacchati ekichatma hanojana. The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. Prabhupada, yes, let's see this one. This is the paragraph. Would you like to read it, Mati?
Sure, Prabhuji.
Okay, yes, the highlighted text.
Yeah.
You can please read that.
Okay, Prabhuji. Intelligent human being must always remember that the soul obtains a human form after an evolution of many million of years in the cycle of transmigration. The material world is sometimes compared to an ocean, and the human body is compared to a solid boat designed especially to cross the ocean. The Vedic scriptures and the acharyas or saintly teachers are compared to expert boatmen, and the facilities of the human body are compared to favorable breezes that help the boat ply smoothly to its desired destination. If, with all these facilities, a human being does not fully utilize his life for self realization, he must be considered Atma, a killer of the soul. Sri Upanishad warns in clear terms that the killer of the soul is destined to enter into the darkest region of ignorance to suffer perpetually. Okay.
Yes.
Mhm.
So one who does not, so Prabhupada is even actually broadening the whole concept of killer of a soul, is somebody who is not using this life for
Mhm.
self-realization, who's
Mhm.
living a life like an animal. So that
Mhm.
person is a killer of the soul, of his own soul.
Mhm.
And this Prabhupada is referring to another verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam here that where this body is like a boat, and
Mhm.
the guru, the teacher, they are like the expert boatsmen who are directing us. And it's even said in the Shastras that if there is a guru around you and you don't take shelter of that guru, that is also a sin. That's also, can be, because there's a guru out there, there's a person of self-realized soul ready to bless us, but we refuse to take his or her shelter. That also is an example where we are not using this life for self-realization. Okay, so was that clear?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Prabhuji, you just mentioned the guru is there and you're not taking shelter. What exactly you meant means guru is there in a city or something and you're not going and paying your.
Well, what I meant is that a guru is available to take shelter of, and we
Okay.
don't. So in general, I'm saying, I'm not saying that whether he's in the city or not. In
Mhm.
general, I'm saying it's not like if there's a guru in town and you don't attend his class, that's wrong. No, no, that's not what I meant.
Mhm.
It's I'm just taking shelter, right? That he- taking up as a guru, as a mentor, as a guide. So if you don't do that, that's also considered to be a sin. That hey, why are you not taking shelter? Your whole life is meant for self-realization, and there
Yeah.
is a self. So when people then if you go on the internet, you'll find 100 things about Prabhupada. People say all nonsense about Prabhupada, ISKCON, and all that. So those people can be very easily considered demoniac because they have a guru, this in the form of Prabhupada, right out there. And those people are not taking shelter of Prabhupada. They're actually blaspheming him. So that's also a killer of the soul. There's somebody right out there to take advantage of, and you're not doing it. So that's what I meant in a broader sense, not about a city or a
Got it, Prabhu. No,
physical
no.
proximity.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, so this was the ninth verse. So the ninth verse is about the attitudes and engagement. So what is their attitude? Their attitude is that they are lost to themselves and they don't have intelligence. And then what do they do? What are their engagements? They engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the whole world. That's it. That's this is ninth verse. Yes, destroying the whole world. Shayo jagatu ahita. So unfortunately, people who are in a mode of ignorance, they don't even know, right? That they're in ignorance. They always feel, oh, I have the knowledge. That's the problem with people who are in ignorance. There are people who are fanatical, they're ideological, materialists. They may be intelligent materially, but spiritually they're alpa buddhya. Krishna is using the word alpa buddhya here. Alpa buddhya. They're less intelligent, Krishna says. Why? Because they are taking full advantage of this human body. So as we are talking about nature, nurture, and culture, right of qualities we bring from our last life, despite that, we have free will to either increase or minimize those qualities. Okay. So some people are born demoniac because they have acted demoniacally in last life, and then they even continue to be demoniac in this life. Right? They are actually they can be, they're not just godless, they can be anti-god also. So they're actually the worst place to be in, being anti-god, not just godless. Yeah, I don't believe in a god, but no, I believe in a god and I don't like him. That's kind of a mentality. So yes, so this was the essence, and then Prabhupada talks about he talks about weapons of destruction, a lot of nuclear weapons and atom bombs. You know, when Einstein created the what was that? E is equal to mc squared, right? That's the formula he created, and they used that to create an atom bomb. He I don't know. He might have known that they're going to use it for atom bomb, but then it was meant for the destruction of the whole world. It destroyed a major section of Japan, was devastated when they put that bomb there. But so that's the mindset of a demoniac people. They do things for destruction of the society. That's how they engage themselves. 10th. So the 10th one is about their mentality. What is the mentality of the demons? Taking shelter of insatiable lust and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige, the demoniac, thus illusioned, are always sown to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent. If somebody has their hand raised, I noticed, saw that.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, that's something.
Yeah, I've noticed this, that most of like a good number of atheists that you see out there or you meet, they're very like they do well in life. That's very, very strange, you know. Like they have good jobs, they're prosperous, you know, they enjoy, and they're the one that's atheist. What's the cause of that? Are they just, you know, Maya is playing with them?
So you're saying that why are atheists successful?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen some like good examples, you know.
Like examples like, so the thing is that atheists can, yeah, so like Krishna is not, as I said, Krishna doesn't interfere with the free will. There's a tiny amount of free will that all of us have. So if by using that free will, they can become rich, they can become famous and all that. But then at the end of the day, when everything is wrapped up, and first of all, as we will read further on, they are never happy. They might be rich, they might be successful, but that doesn't necessarily make them happy. We'll see in the further verses that Krishna says that chintam aparimyante. They are constantly entangled in chinta, fear and anxiety. Right? So it's not just that they are rich, but then rich is okay. That yeah, Krishna can give that. It's a quality of Krishna. If you are working hard, if you work very hard, yeah, you can have that. Imagine Hiranyakashipu got the boon to be. Everybody knew, the whole creation knew that he was a demoniac person. But still, he had all the riches. So we cannot equate atheism with poverty. That there's no correlation in there. Even devotees can be poor. There's some devotees who are very poor. Sudama Brahman, we know the story. So there is no correlation. But the essence is that even though they might be very rich, they might be very successful, they're not happy. Happiness is missing in them. That's something is missing.
Yeah. Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah, just an observation. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was my thought is always that Maya plays a big role in everything, whether you're, I don't know about demonic, but how you behave and how you act. So
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Yeah. See, success is a multi-layered thing, right? So we should not fix ourselves on one aspect of success. Right? We should always strive for inner success. We can always try to train ourselves in progress. Focus on outer success always gives us frustration. That's something that's common, and Krishna will speak about it when he talks about it in further on in the chapters. Right? So it's very elusive. It's very confusing when we see that, oh, this person is successful. Why is Krishna making them successful? You never know the other part of the story, right? That what they are suffering at. Like there's always a quote that I always remember from Jim Carrey. I heard it recently. He says that I wish everybody in the world becomes a millionaire, and then once they become, they realize that money cannot buy them happiness. So success is very confusing, as I would say, at least to the other people. It looks that okay, yeah, he's got everything, he or she, but then it's not always that way. There was another hand that was raised.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Like in the last student retreat of Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji, he was mentioning that to do some bad karma, people need to do some good karma, like to perform some good karma before. Like for example, Dhritarashtra, to get the 100 sons, he needed to do accrue a lot of good karma before. So as a boon, he got the hundreds, the like fortune to have 100 son, and then he did bad karma, and so like probably the atheists who are now atheists, they had some good karma before, and
yeah,
now
that could also be. Yes, you're right. Yeah, the atheists could have accumulated some karma that they're using now. Yeah, it could be. You might see some of that in some places. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
But we always have and it's not in devotional life we can't be successful. It's not that. It's never that way. We can be successful in devotional life also. And when I say devotional, what I mean is that devotees can also be successful. Prabhupada said, our devotees should run governments. So Prabhupada wanted them to be expert politicians. So he wanted them to be successful, even materially. So it doesn't mean that the only difference is that a devotee uses his success for Krishna's service, whereas a demoniac person uses it for sense gratification. And as we were just discussing, that some people look successful, probably some accumulation of past karma. They are just reaping the benefits of their last karma. And once that runs out, they'll be back down again. So yeah, it could be many reasons, yes. Okay, let's get going. So yes, insatiable lust, absorbed in insatiable lust and absorbed in the conceit of pride and arrogance. So kama, the lust, is there in everyone. Okay, let's just start by clarifying that. Everybody has lust. But demoniac people take ashraya of lust. That's what Krishna is saying here. It's saying, kamam ashrita dushpuram. So everybody has kama, but dushpuram, a demoniac, they take ashraya of kama, taking shelter of kama. No, dushpuram is, sorry, insatiable, not in. So yes, so kama is in everybody, but demoniac take ashraya of that kama. Kama becomes their whole and soul. And what does it mean to take ashraya of kama? They think that everything can be solved by lust, by greed. As we just read, right? That kimanne kama hetuka. It could be sex, oh yeah. So even Krishna uses this concept I read this in the earlier chapters. Third chapter, he says, Kamesha krodesha guna Kamesha krodesha samuguna samudbhava. Right? So he talks about that how kama, it leads to that krodha and everything. So, and then also he talks about that unsatisfied, it's like an unsatisfied fire in the third chapter. But the same kama can also be Krishna conscious. So Krishna says that, right? The 7th chapter we read. Balam balvatam chaham, kam raga vivarjita, dharma viruddha bhushteshu, kamosmi bhartarshava. That a sex life which is not contrary to dharma is Krishna. So karma can be an eternal enemy, or it could be a manifestation of our eternal well-wisher, Krishna. So what we have to understand is that the karma talked about in these two places not the same. When it's saying that it's Krishna, and then here karma is talking about demoniac. When Arjun liked Subhadra, Krishna acted as a matchmaker, and he even overcame the opposition of Balaram. Right. So it's not as if so there was a desire there for Arjun also, right? But the problem is that in the fact that some take ashraya of kama and some take ashraya of dharma. When you take ashraya of dharma, then kama is good. Kama, according to dharma, is good, righteous. But when taking a shelter of kama, it becomes insatiable and wrong. Therefore, it is dushpuram. It cannot be satisfied. Devotees always think there is no problem that Krishna cannot solve. But then for demoniacs, they're never satisfied. It always is like oh my God, how can I have more? How can I have more? Mohat gritvasan grahan. He says, it becomes because of illusion, this all happens. They accept that which is temporary, the thing that is real. All the movies you see, not all, many of them, they always end with that philosophy of live happily ever after. But that's not the fact. The fact in life is completely opposite. Life is dukhalyama shashvata. It is white lie, but people accept it and they want to believe it. So when they want to believe it, they become entrapped in that illusion. Right? So is that illusion? They become illusion. Right? So and then they sworn to unclean works. They engage in unclean vows, which can refer to things like black magic, tantra, those kind of things. And they're very determined to do it. Where's that word? Pravartante. They flourish. Krishna is saying. Right? So they do it with a lot of determination. So that's the disastrous thing that's happening. I read about this somewhere in the Guinness Book of World Records. There is a somebody holds a record of kissing for 47 hours. So there was a kissing competition. Just imagine kissing somebody for 47 hours. Wow. So that's demoniac in nature. But they do it with such gusto and determination. Because they have taken ashraya of karma. As they say, right? When we don't know where we are going, any road will take us there. So for such demoniac people, there is no moral preference for people to decide what is right or wrong. Right? Sometimes I feel it seems very weird that PETA, that animal protection agency, they expose. There's an exposure of women bodies for PETA. There's no moral ground there. You could have done the same thing without doing this exposure. You could have promoted protection of animals without doing that. But then they don't have a reference guide to know what is right or wrong. So they just keep thinking, oh, I'm right. I know what is right. And so to come to a perfectional stage, we have to know who we are and where we are going. That's what Sambandha Gyan is. Sambandha Gyan is very important. People who are very sure about what their values and goals are, they can discriminate what is right, what is wrong. A Madhyam Adhikari should have that quality. If you remember when we talked about Madhyam Adhikari, I referred to verse from the 11th canto, 2nd chapter. Verse number was 47, which said that Ishwarita dineshu balisheshu dushatsucha prema maitri kripopeksha ya karoti sa madhyam. There's a clear-cut guideline how the person approaches or interacts with different people. For Krishna is love, prema, maitri for devotees, kripa for people who are ignorant. They're ignorant in the sense that they don't know. But then there are people who are envious. He stays away from them. So that discrimination only comes by having a reference guide, which is for us in our case, or not in our case, it's for the whole world, Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas, the Shastras. Okay, so let's see what Prabhupada is saying here. Although such demonic people are most abominable in the world, by artificial means, the world creates a false honor for them. Although they are gliding toward hell, they consider themselves very much advanced. Just in addition to what Atiyal Veli Mataji is saying, that they see that people who are demoniac, they're successful. But then it's just a group of demoniac people coming together and honoring each other. You can look at it from that perspective also. Everybody knows that Mark Zuckerberg, he probably steals our information and sells it to others. They track us and all that, but still they're glorified because it's a society of demoniac people. It's an abominable situation that we are in. Okay. So in coming to 11 and 12, so 11 and 12 is again the attitudes and engagements. Okay. So what is the attitude and engagement here? They believe that to gratify the senses is the prime necessity of human civilization. Thus, until the end of life, their anxiety is immeasurable. Bound by a network of hundreds of thousands of desires and absorbed in lust and anger, they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification. Okay. So the attitude as the engagement is that they secure money by illegal means. The attitude is that they believe that to gratify the senses is the prime necessity. So once again, this is a mention of the attitudes and the engagement. Okay. So now if you see, right, that in our Shastras, we're always talked about what's that? Dharma, Artha, Kam, and Moksha. Okay. But here, what Krishna is telling us is, Kam Opabhoga Param. They are in Kama is there, but there is no Dharma. The Dharma has been missing from their life, right? So all they want is Artha and Kama. Dharma and moksha is cut out of their lifestyle. So the foundation of life, as Shastras teach us, should be on dharma, on character. Right? Once we have built that character, then any artha we pursue is founded on proper character and principles. Then the artha reaches its full potential. And the kama that comes out of that artha, the fulfillment of desires, that happens, but then that is more satisfying because it's based on dharma. Right? All people, rich people, a lot of these people, rich people, they feel a vacuum in their heart. And the reason they feel a vacuum in their heart, even when they're wealthy, because perhaps they have pursued kama without proper dharma. It was not founded on something deep. So moksha means that all of this will help us realize that there is more to life. Right? Therefore, the concept of brahmachari to sannyasi concept exists. So Bhagavad Gita doesn't say we have to turn away from material, but how to pursue material that it leads to spiritual elevation side by side. That's what Bhagavad Gita is teaching us. That's what Bhagavatam and all the Shastras teach us. Right? And what it all boils down to, if you ask me from a practical perspective, it's all about our mind. The mind is our root cause of all these problems. Therefore, we should always fortify our mind, our intelligence by reading Shastras, by discussing it with other devotees, and looking at the practical application. If there's no practical application of all these Shastras, it's of no use. It's just some fancy, flowery language. But we should either ourselves or through some other devotees should know how to practically apply the philosophy that we are reading. Then it becomes perfect. Right? The Avanti Brahmin comes up in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam. He says this, you should read the prayers of Avanti Brahmin if you get a chance. He talks about the mind so often. He says the mind has fearsome godlike powers. And he even agrees that nobody is responsible for my current situation. Nayam janome sukha dukha hetu. Na devtatma graha karma. And he's saying that people are not responsible for my sukha dukha. Demigods are not responsible. He says, manha param karanam, that my mind is the main reason of it. So if we are able to come to that understanding and we realize it, then we can very easily fix our life according to dharma, arth, kam, the proper way. So Krishna is saying, chintam aparimenta. Chinta is anxiety and it's immeasurable. So we should not do chinta, we should do chintan. Chintan is meditation. Right? There's a difference in both the words between chinta and chintan. The chinta is fear and anxiety, but chintan is more of contemplation. Okay? So people take shelter of that kind of an anxiety by when they get too much involved in sense gratification. They're bound by desires. So, but for that, we have to give our mind a very important foundational thought. Right? We have to ground it in some very effective, practical, high-minded philosophy, so that it can always be protected from all these anxieties, all the immorality, all the illegal activities, all that's going on. When our mind is pushed by our urges, we'll always be bound. But when we deliberately engage our minds in trying to rise above those urges, that's when we become free. People are always displaying smiling faces, but their hearts are always crying. People, whenever you talk to somebody, they always say, "Oh, how are you? I'm doing good." They're not doing good. Everybody is going through a nightmare. At home, at work, personal, so many things. How can you be good? Right? But that's a pretension we all carry. But when we connect with Krishna, we are easily able to give up that pretension. We depend on Krishna. Right? So, yeah, so it's a practice by which we can attain, we can come here. The material energy never cooperates with her. But if we try to control the material energy, there'll always be a anxiety in our heart. So there'll be a desire to control, and there's an inability to control it also within me. So that causes a lot of anxiety. So we need to be ready to expect Krishna's mercy in uncharacteristic ways. So not being dependent on our plans, but depending on Krishna's plan. Okay. 13 to 15. Okay, 13 to 15 is the demoniac mentality. I'm kind of shifting and looking at the slide I had showed you. I can send a snapshot of that for you to capture also, but I'll post the slides also in the group. So this is now again the mentality here. 32. The demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I'll gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future more and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man, surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. Right? So what is Krishna calling them? There's a verse that I like very much that Krishna uses in somewhere here. Right? Manoratham. Manoratham. I'm sitting in my mind's chariot, and I think I'll do this, I'll do that. Right? So mind is the chariot, and I sit in. So demons out there are they just trying to be number one? Ishwaroham aham bhogi. That I want to control everything so that I can enjoy it. There's an example of King Vena in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that he wanted to enjoy everything. So desire to be best is not bad, as I was earlier saying. Devotee's idea of being best is not to gain worldly appreciation, but to give Krishna recognition. Prabhupada, even though what he did was just unbelievable. Whenever somebody would say, Swamiji, you have done so much, he would say, I have not done anything. All I have done is just followed my spiritual master's order. So a devotee, even though devotee becomes successful, he still gives Krishna recognition. He wants to be best for Krishna. Okay. That's it. There are a lot of people within our ISKCON community. If they're good at many different things. There's one Mataji, I forget her name. She's Gaurmani Mataji's sister, I think. She teaches. She's a very good speaker and a teacher, and especially with kids. She does a Bhakti Sastri for kids. And my son was doing it. And she is such innovative in the way she's presenting the whole philosophy for kids to grab. So she's using her skill sets for appreciating Krishna. Right? So that's the beauty of a devotee. Hanuman, he single-handedly burned the whole Lanka. But he didn't think Ishwaroham ham bhogi. He said, oh, all for Lord Ram. Right? So Bhakti Vinod Thakur would say, when will the day come when our High Court judges will wear tilak? Right? So, as I was saying, Prabhupada also wanted people to win the politics and so forth. So, even Bhakti Vinod Thakur said, oh, when will we have a devotee government? When will devotees be judges? Right? What that means is that when will devotees present themselves so efficiently in material life that they are made judges? So, there's an Adyo Abhijanvan Asmi. What this means is that they move around in a glorious circle, want to be associated with VIPs. There's always some pleasure that comes in proximity to famous people. However, when their karma runs out, that whole concept goes away. Just like a cricketer might be loved by millions, but when he retires, the number of people admiring him goes down substantially. Bhagavad Gita is teaching us that we have free will, but we don't have complete free. We're not absolutely free. Okay, so but then demonic people think that. So the problem is not with material progress, but the problem is with thinking that only material progress is there. There's no other kind of problem. So simply material progress, it has resulted in people being comfortably miserable in this world. Lot of comforts externally, but internally there is anxiety, there is insecurity, there is impurity, so much going on. So inferiority comes in when we impose some certain stereotype or definition of success. Right? Only if you achieve this, then you can be successful. But we are all individuals, right? We all have different talents. And we become successful, we become fulfilled, we become satisfied when we express our talents and achieve success on our terms. Bhagavad Gita says, right, that swe swe karmani karmani abhirata, that work according to your nature and succeed. And you can attain perfection within this life. But if you try to be somebody else, neither will you attain perfection, neither will you be happy. So that's the benefit of reading Shastra. We get a broader vision of life beyond the materialistic definition of success. It gives us inner stability. The world will have its ups and downs, but a person whose boat is anchored, through spiritual culture, and so that there'll be a lot of inner stability. When there is inner stability, we can navigate the ups and downs of this life. Then there is a mention, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. There's a mention of perform sacrifices and giving charity. Right? So there's a mention of that. So charity, when it's being referred to, and we'll read about charity in the 17th chapter also, in the 3 modes. But these people are doing charity. What are they doing charity for? Recognition and glorification. It's a gift to themselves, actually, to their own ego. They're flattering their ego. And that's a characteristic of the ungodly people. So, and they do a lot of sacrifices for sake of name. Just to show people, that's all. Okay, I'll take a pause here. Any thoughts, comments, anything on your mind? 16. All clear? Everything going through easily?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Today we read so many things and so many qualities of demons. And most particularly, it stuck that most of them correlate to Mayavad. So do we consider Mayavad to be a demonic philosophy, or is it different?
So see, Mayavadis, so let me explain to you who are Mayavadis. Mayavadis are aware of God. They're aware of the Bhagavan concept, aspect. But then they consider that as Maya too. So in a broader sense, if you look at what Mayavadis are doing, Mayavadis are saying that even Krishna is Maya. So in that sense, they are very ungodly, right? They are actually just nullifying God even. So the problem is that when there is a condemnation of physical form, despite knowing about the form of God, that's Mayavad. Okay. So, for example, when Lord Buddha's teaching were predominant in India, people become very against Vedas. They became Shunyavadis, and the Vedic practices decreased almost to nil. Right. And in that condition, people are not prepared to hear about Krishna or God. Right? They would have simply blasphemed these teachings, and actually, their heart would have been further dirty. Right? So,
Yes, Prabhu, I'm listening.
yeah. So no, I'm just thinking. So I'm just trying to explain to you what Mayavad is about. So yes, the Mayavadis, because they refuse to accept Krishna as God, even though they know that God, there is a Bhagwan concept, but they say, oh, when Krishna comes to this world, he also gets entangled in Maya. How can God be entangled in Maya if he himself is saying, Krishna is saying that that I am the owner of this material nature. Mam Maya durattaye, mame payo prapadante, Maya me tantarantite. Devi hai isha gunamai. This gunamai, this material world nature is mine, but it is under my control. So how can he come under the control? So when people, knowing what the Shastra is saying and knowing that concept, still refuse to accept it, they come under the demoniac mentality.
I see in that way, but yet I find that they call each other Narayan, that they have some concept of godly, some authority or something like that. Maybe they
Yeah.
consider themselves to be God themselves, kind of, but still, like they are well versed in Vedas and everything.
Yeah.
Then still they are like come in demonic category, right?
Yes, they come under demonic category. Yes. So see, the moment I refuse to accept Shastras, I become a demoniac mentality. That's what we read at the beginning, right? That there is no difference in demons and demigods except that demons refuse to follow the injunctions given in the Shastras. That's the main difference between them. And what do the Shastras are saying? Krishna. They're talking about Krishna, surrender to Krishna, but they don't do that. They knowingly refuse to do that. So they conceive the Krishna's form as material. So Krishna in the 7th chapter, in the 9th chapter, he said they both are abuddha and mudha. Right? They take shelter of demoniac nature. Yes, so they are considered as demoniac.
But at least we don't find those kind of pravrittis in them, like that they are greedy or they are like doing something wrong to harm people or something like that. They don't do that,
Yeah.
right?
So it's not as if all these qualities are present in demons in the same person. Understand that. All these qualities don't have to be in the same person at the same time.
Or
In
anyone.
some of them could be more prominent, some of them could be less prominent. Yes, physically, externally, they might have controlled everything. But then they are not accepting Shastras, they're not accepting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, despite reading it in the Shastras, reading it in Srimad Bhagavatam, Vishwapanishad, reading it in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is saying, Man mana bhava mad bhakto. And they say, oh, you don't have to surrender to Krishna, you have to surrender to the formless God sitting in his heart. Where is Krishna saying that? So they are just creating something out of their own. So they immediately take shelter of the demoniac nature by doing that. In some places, they might be good. I'm not saying they're, but even one thought, as we were discussing the last time, right, that it can take you away. If you focus too much on one aspect, that one aspect alone can take you away and disrupt your whole life.
Well, that way,
Yeah. Sorry,
that
go
way
ahead.
we all are demons, aren't we?
See,
Because we have some or the other quality present in us in maybe less or more proportion.
Yes, as I mentioned that earlier, the problem is not that we have demoniac qualities. We all have demoniac qualities. The problem is that what are we doing about them? You are very sincerely trying to rectify them.
Yeah.
And that is under Krishna's control. We are giving everything to Krishna. You figure it out for me. Here is my heart. I have opened it. It's stinky. My heart stinks. It's like hard like a rock. But I'm opening it up to you. You do what you want to do. Then there is no problem with it. Krishna is not looking for perfection. All he's looking for is love, surrender.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
all.
now I understand that. Yeah, because we are kind of surrendered,
Yes.
not fully though, but we are practicing.
Yeah.
So that way
We're
we
practicing.
don't come into that category, although we have those qualities within us. Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
I
Yeah,
just want to highlight one aspect here. Even though Prabhupada calls Mayavadis demoniac, if you meet somebody, we should not disrespect them. I just wanted to highlight that. Prabhupada talks very strongly about them in all his books and so forth. But if you see Prabhupada's his own behavior towards Mayavadis, he was very respectful. When Prabhupada was very sick in 1967, there was a Mayavadi who came to meet him in the hospital. Prabhupada greeted him very nicely. He actually asked his disciples to give chair to the Mayavadi to sit. Prabhupada was living with the Mayavadi when he came to New York, Dr. Mishra. And if you read the memoirs of
Oh,
Dr.
yes,
Mishra,
yes. I've read all of that.
yeah, if you read later on what Dr. Mishra said about Prabhupada, he was so appreciative of Prabhupada, despite knowing that Prabhupada didn't like him. So we have to be like that. We should be very strong in our philosophy, but then that doesn't mean we disrespect somebody. We don't have to disrespect. If they don't like my philosophy, that's fine. It's up to them. But we don't disrespect them. Even that's Morarji, that lady who gave Prabhupada the free ticket. She's a part of some Krishna worshippers. I don't know what it was. I forgot what her was, but Prabhupada in one of his writings criticized that section also because they didn't have the right concept of praying to Krishna. And Sumati Morarji was very angry with Prabhupada. And Prabhupada just very humbly told her, this is what the Shastra is saying. It's not something I'm saying. So Prabhupada is fearless. At the same time, he was also very thoughtful about all these processes. So sometimes, we people become very puffed up that, hey, Prabhupada was bashing Mayavadis, I'll also bash Mayavadis. No, we don't have to do that.
Yeah, we cannot imitate, of course. We are not at that stage, of course. Of course.
Yeah, and it's very unfortunate for many of us that Prabhupada's Vani is very easily available for all of us, but his behavior is not easily accessible. Right? So we have that being the second, third generation. We have that disadvantage because we didn't see Prabhupada right in front of our eyes. How was he talking to everybody? How was he sitting? What did he say when he saw that somebody didn't put the tilak properly? What did he say when somebody put salt in the charnamrita? So we don't get those details. So we have to rely on his Vani and his disciples to get that information.
Yeah, we have to see all those things before we act. And how can we really be disrespectful to somebody else, because we know that we ourselves are no good.
Yeah, that's the right thing. My occupation, this is something I'm quoting from a senior devotee. I'm not that I fully follow it. My only occupation should be to look at faults in myself and correct them.
Yes.
That should be my only eternal occupation. But obviously, I don't follow it. I criticize, unfortunately. But if we could come to that level, we'll be very happy. Okay. Any more thoughts, anybody?
Thank you.
Welcome. Asmita, you have your hand raised, or was it from earlier?
Yeah. No, Prabhuji, I did raise my hand. I was waiting for Mataji to finish.
Yes, please.
Question. So Buddha Bhagwan came, who's also Vishnu Bhagwan's avatar, right? And I know the whole reasoning behind, or maybe I'm somewhat right, somewhat wrong. Whole reasoning behind him arriving was to get rid of all of this animal killing and meat eating and so forth. But people moved towards atheism, right? So why did Krishna let that happen? Like, why did that happen? People moved towards atheism and so forth.
So, Mati, you were saying you know about it. I'll quickly, briefly highlight it just for the just so that we can answer it properly. When Lord Buddha came, he said, forget these Vedas, okay? Because he was seeing that people were so animalistic now at that moment. So he came and he suggests you be a nice person. That was his thought he came with, right? So because when there is a destruction of the social structure, you cannot create everything in one go. You have to do it part by part. So when there is a destruction of the social culture, Lord Buddha came, he said, forget everything. You just try to be a good person. But then Krishna doesn't want to stop there. That's why after him, when Shankaracharya came, he gave his philosophy of monism, or more you can say impersonalism, monism, that hey, you become one with God and all that concept. He also had a purpose, because if at that moment people who are still have no concept of Vedas, he comes and says Krishna is a person, he's a blue boy, he does this, people would have run away. No. So Krishna was very slowly giving and bringing people back to bhakti, right? So going from Buddhist, so then he went to Shankaracharya, and then came Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya. They came, where they even removed that concept of impersonalism which Shankaracharya had brought in, right? Then they established pure devotional service as the true spirit and intent of the Vedas. Okay, so there is a progression. Now you asked question, why does Krishna let it happen? Krishna does not let it happen. It's my voluntary choice by which I do it. Just imagine this tiny free will that I have can create so much havoc in my life and in this world. Somebody thinks that, oh, it's nice to me to figure out from science, I can create an atom bomb, and then poof, in a minute, millions of people die. It's not Krishna wants that. So darkness only happens when I turn away from Krishna. You'll never be able to see your shadow if you're facing the sun. It'll only be visible when you turn your back towards the sun. So that's why. So Krishna does not make it happen. My free will is which makes the whole life miserable. For me, for others also. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So there was a progression from Buddha to Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya, but there was a reasoning behind it, as you already know. And but then Krishna didn't cause that, didn't create a society of people who were living an animalistic life. They voluntarily chose to it. They had tiny free will. But Krishna, being very merciful, he still tries to bring them back. That's the beauty of Krishna. Just like the story of the prodigal son, right? Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was talking about it on Shivratri speech class he gave. That even if the son doesn't want to come, Krishna makes arrangement that son doesn't have to come to Krishna. He can come to somebody who is closer to Krishna, like the demigods. So Krishna makes arrangements. Okay, any more thoughts? If not, we can finish a verse more. We have a few minutes. No? Okay.
Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, since we were talking about Buddhism and Lord Buddha, just a curiosity. I'm hearing that there are two Buddhas. One is the avatar of Krishna, and another Buddha, and most of the people right now following the other Buddha. Is that true?
I've never read that, Mataji. So I'm sorry, I cannot say whether this is true or not true. I've never come across that thought.
Okay, gotcha, Prabhuji. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so 16th is now we've talked about what they do, what's their attitude, nature, philosophy, engagement, so on and so forth. Now this is about what's the result of them. Perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into hell. That's the result of all the demoniac work they have been doing. That's what happens to them. Aneka chitta vibranta. Patanti narake ashuchau. That's what this happens to them, right? So their consciousness is pulled in so many directions, they're completely covered by a network or trap of illusions. So moha is compared to a net here. Moha jal. Jal is a net, right? You know net. So those people are so much in that illusion, they cannot even perceive spiritual reality. They cannot even think beyond material desires. And that's why we need a guru to come and shake us out of it. In the 1960s, there was a craze about moon race. And Prabhupada at one point said, they never went to the moon. So many of his disciples, many disciples left just because Prabhupada said they never went to the moon. Because they were so strongly attached to this I'm an American concept. Prabhupada had to shake them out of it. Prabhupada has come to tell us how to go back to Krishna, and people are getting so excited about going to the moon. Right? Yena kena prakarena mana Krishna niveshaya. Right? So sometimes people have their mind so much entangled that even a guru, like pure devotee like Prabhupada, is not able to pull them out because they have that tiny free will. There was a wife who wanted to change her husband. Her husband was very materialistic, just somebody like described in this verse. And the sadhu came to that wife, and the wife said, "Oh, Sadhuji, please take my husband with you. Take him to some pilgrimage places. Hopefully, he'll come out of his materialistic tendencies." The sadhu said, "Okay." The sadhu took her husband. And then after a few months, when the sadhu came back, he said, "Oh, sorry, your husband is incorrigible. I cannot correct him." And the wife is saying, "No, no, please try once more, just one more thing." Okay. The sadhu said, "I'll try one more thing. After that, I'll give up." So the sadhu takes that husband to the Shashwamedh Ghat in Varanasi. Their dead bodies were being burnt on the ghat. The husband saw those dead bodies and he started crying. Oh my God. And the sadhu said, "Oh, finally, a breakthrough, a transformation has happened." And then he goes to the husband. He says, what are you relishing? What is it? Please share with me. The sadhu says to his son. He says, "My God, I never knew there was so much, there's so much profit in the business of wood because so many people are being burnt on wood fire. I should have done a business of wood and become a billionaire." People are not being pulled out of that material tendency. They cannot be pulled out of that tendency. Right? So it's just the way it is. In old age, anxiety is immense because we can't do things as we used to do in youth. That is why, as we grow old, our habits should also simultaneously change. But some people want to be engaged in that same concept, and then their life becomes miserable, full of anxiety. Shama Bhakti and I, we went to a old age home here. We wanted to do some kirtan there. In the past, we had given a Bhagavatam and some books to them. So we just went there to do some kirtan, chanting. And those old people, they didn't want us there because they wanted to play cards, watch movies, and all that. But some of them sat down and listened. So we just chanted to them. But many of them just stood up and walked away. They said, "No, no, if you sing some, Kishore Kumar songs, then we will listen to you. No, we don't want to listen to it." So that's the jal that Krishna is talking about here. We have no energy, no emotion left for connecting with Krishna. Right? We find Krishna consciousness very tasteless because our connection with Krishna was disrupted. How was it disrupted? By my free will, I got trapped in this moha jala. Okay, moha jala. Yeah, that's it. I'll read 31.